Cheers, and welcome to Beginning Philosophy. So you saw here there's an emotion wheel. Kind of cool, and so it helps you figure out what emotion you're feeling at a given time. And emotions can be complex, they can be made up of multiple different emotions, sort of like how a particular color can be a composite of primary colors. So this got me thinking about emotions and the fact that we as humans can very readily be thinking with our emotions, emotional reasoning. So this is kind of a problem in a sense, and it can leave us vulnerable to making poor judgments. It can make us vulnerable to certain persuasion and rhetorical techniques. And so, there's a way in which our emotions are a bit of a liability, if you will, downside. So I want to talk a little bit about that. At the same time, I don't want to pretend like emotions are bad. They're not. We want emotions. They're positive. They're beneficial for us. Our emotions serve us. They serve a function. They help us do things like protect us from danger, help us learn what actions we should take again because they led to a positive result. And so you don't want to get rid of emotions. Far from it. There's a lot of people that I've met who pretend that they either don't have emotions or that their emotions don't influence them. And this, I think, is unwise, in large part because I think if we deny our emotions and deny the influence and impact they have on us, we leave ourselves open to our emotions influencing us in ways that we're not aware of. And I believe I've detected this a number of times with people who say, oh, no, I'm always logical. I'm always rational. And that's actually kind of a red flag for me if people say things like that. Because as humans, we are not always rational. In fact, one might argue we are hardly ever rational. I hope that's not the case. But with evidence suggests if we're going to be on one side of this spectrum or the other, that nearly all people, probably all people, are far towards the irrational side of the spectrum and the emotional side of the spectrum. In the type of therapy I do, dialectical behavior therapy, what we seek to do, we talk about emotion mind and rational mind. Perhaps I'll elaborate on this. This isn't a psychology or anyway, that's not that kind of channel. However, for the sake of the philosophical elements of it, I may elaborate on some of these things at some point. But in any event, so we talk about rational mind and emotion mind, and the goal of DBT, though, is to connect these things into what we call wise mind and gather the positive, beneficial elements of both ways of thinking, so that we can respond effectively. So effectiveness is a big idea in DBT, and so for me as a philosopher, I think of effectiveness as wisdom. And so this place of what could be called wise mind is a place of making effective decisions, and it incorporates and acknowledges the emotions that we have, and leverages the skill sets that we take from our rational mind So critical thinking and logic and so on and so forth. Understanding of biases and fallacies. So both are important. We don't want to get rid of our emotions. However, we don't want to be thinking only with our emotions, and I think frequently we're caught in that trap. We're emotionally reasoning. And of course, all of us want to think that we're immune. I do. I want to think, oh, no, I'm never like that. However, of course I am. Of course I am. I'm driven by my emotions probably in many times ways that I'm not even aware of. So in a future video, I'm going to talk about self-awareness and how to cultivate that as something of an antidote to falling prey to emotional reasoning. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about this. I should really drink beer while I'm thinking to make it look like it's all seamless, but I don't know if I can think that fast anyway. Might just edit this whole thing out or not. I don't know. We'll see. So this emotional reasoning also is what leaves us vulnerable to peripheral root persuasion. I can get into in another video the difference between central root and peripheral root persuasion. So with the peripheral root leverages our emotions and it uses as a rhetorical device trying to inflame or energize our emotions in a certain way to get us to change our minds or change our behaviors in a certain way. So that's one of the reasons why we want to be mindful of the times when our emotions are running the show.